Oh, great. Welcome, everyone. We see you're coming in. We're going to take a couple of minutes to let people come in. I'm Gabby Salazar, EcoFarm's Program Director. We want to thank our speakers, but of course, we also want to thank our sponsors. We have some Spanish language program sponsors to thank. Um, and we'll get their slides up there pretty soon. Those are CCOF, JSM Organics, and National Resource Defense Council. We also want to thank our sponsors Full Belly Farm, Farmer and Cook, Driscoll's, CCOF, Heart and Soil Magazine, Veritable Vegetable, and Stupski Foundation. I have a few more announcements to make before we get into the good stuff. We'd really love everyone to keep participating in our new online community platform so we can continue sharing knowledge and resources with each other year round. It's not going anywhere. You can access it, message folks, find new content year round. So get comfortable in there. Say hello on the home feed, join a group such as the Ag Jobs and Opportunities group, where you can post what you're looking for or what you have to share. If you've missed any of the workshops, feel free to watch the recordings. They are getting uploaded into the archives as we speak, actually. So if you look on the left of your screen in our community platform, you'll see an archives button. You'll be able to watch all of the ones from 2021 and also very soon all of the ones from this year. Starting in April, I have one last two final announcements. Starting in April, we'll be hosting experiential field days on farms in the Central Coast and in Northern California. Registration is opening soon. We have a stellar lineup, so please stay tuned for that. Lastly, we ask that you take a few minutes to complete our conference survey by Friday, April 1. Everybody who fills it out, takes your precious time to fill it out, will be entered to win a pass to attend EcoFarm Conference 2023. So now I'd like to get into our programming for today. To start us off, we were so grateful to have a message from Robert Rivas, who is the chair of the California Assembly Agriculture Committee. So I think that we are cueing Robert Rivas right now.
Good morning. My name is Robert Rivas, and I represent the 30th Assembly District, which covers much of the Central Coast, which includes the Salinas Valley, the Pajaro Valley, two very diverse and productive agricultural areas of our state. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to say a few words here at EcoFarm 2022. As chair of the Assembly Agriculture Committee, I've toured and traveled throughout our state to meet with some of the people who grow our food. Farmers, farm workers, advocacy, and some community organizations. And let me tell you, the magnitude of California's agricultural industry, the diversity of our agricultural industry is truly, truly staggering. It is not surprising that we lead the nation in agricultural productivity. Over 400 different commodities, over 70,000 farms and ranches, and 79% of those farms and ranches are individual and family owned. Everywhere you go here in our state, people are growing things. In community gardens in Los Angeles and San Jose, in large farms and ranches in Salinas, the Central Valley, in Imperial County, to the Oregon border, and in greenhouses in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. California agriculture is everywhere. And over the past 2 years, agriculture, like most industries across our state and across our country, has faced numerous challenges. An unexpected global pandemic, historic and unprecedented wildfires, a worsening housing and homelessness crisis, and now a global supply chain crisis. Yet despite these challenges and these multiple crises, here across our state, farmers keep planting and farm workers keep harvesting so that Californians, so that our country and the world could keep eating. California agriculture is strong. It is resilient, but it also faces serious and urgent challenges. We must ensure that our farmers and our ranchers, that they have the resources to recover from year-over-year crises. and that they're able to prepare for the next ones, which will surely come. We need reforms to ensure that our ag industry can innovate and compete in a global market. We must improve our ability to conserve and manage water so that crops continue to grow and flourish in our drought-prone state. We must balance robust agricultural production with strong environmental protections. California agriculture can lead the way, but the burden shouldn't fall on farmers alone. We need support and resources from government to make this happen. But make no mistake, we're making progress. I'm proud of the work we accomplished last year to secure a historic investment of $1.1 billion in our state budget for climate-smart agriculture. And that's in addition to the $90 million that was allocated for our multi-benefit land repurposing program. We created this program to use idle land that's going to be taken out of agricultural production in ways that benefit our economy and our environment, rather than let the land become hotspots for dust and weeds and invasive pests. And finally, we must protect the hundreds of thousands of workers who grow our food. If farm workers do not have decent housing, if they are not treated with dignity and respect, then we have failed. I am the son of Mexican immigrants, of farm-working Mexican immigrants, who came to California in search of opportunity and in search of a better life for their children. They worked hard. Their children were able to attend quality public schools and give back to their communities. Amid a global pandemic, a severe housing and homelessness crisis, and the highest level of functional poverty in the United States, we must keep in mind that here in California, we have a history of always lifting everyone up as we rise, of keeping the door to opportunity open for all here in this great state. And we must strive. We must all work together to ensure that future generations can pursue a better life in this great state as we have. Thank you for all that you do. Please never hesitate to contact our office, and look forward to seeing all of you soon in person.
Thank you to Robert Rivas there. It's great to hear from him. Now I am so happy to introduce Javier Zamora of JSM Organics. He is a former EcoFarm board member, born to a family of farmers in Michoacan, Mexico. He came to the U.S. in 1986 and now owns a 200-acre ranch and farms 38 acres in Royal Oaks, where he grows organic berries, vegetables, and cut flowers, employing 20 workers. Javier has an organic production degree from Cabrillo and trained with the ALBA program in Salinas. We are also looking forward to the EcoFarm Field Day at Javier's farm, celebrating Cinco de Mayo on Saturday, May 7th. Lastly, Javier is a new member of the National Organic Standards Board. With that, I pass it to you.
Thanks, Gabby. There you go. I see myself. Oh, there you go. Well, thank you. It's such an honor to do this again. It's another year. Before I begin, I want to kind of have us think a little bit about Amigo Bob, that for many, many, many years, he was the guy in charge of doing this presentation, because he himself, one of the most successful farmers that I known or that I knew, and we learned a lot. So doing this again for him or on his behalf is truly an honor for me. But it also shows that we have to think of succession and who's going to do things for us in the near future. So it's another year. Hopefully we'll get to see you, or we'll get to see each other next year. Our beautiful Silomar, which is just about 20 minutes away from us. We really need to go back in person. I think this pandemic thing has changed a lot of things, and I don't think anybody wants to get used to the new ways of conducting business, even though it has its benefits. Like, maybe in 20 minutes later, you'll see me presenting the the second successful farmer from a place at the farm. Having said that, I want to thank these farmers that are willing to share their expertise and their way of doing things. It shows the flexibility of running a business and the different ways that we can succeed. I don't think there is a silver bullet that we can provide to someone. I'd say follow these steps and you will succeed. It's a matter of trying different things, and we're gonna witness that today by seeing what these farmers have done throughout their lives, and they're here to share with us. So pay close attention to what they do, and let's get this ball rolling. And muchísimas gracias también a los que están ahí escuchando en español. Espero no hablar muy rápido para que quien está traduciendo pueda transmitir lo que estamos hablando. Okay, so let's start with our new, the first of our new successful farmers today. Emily Oakley and Michael Appel, or Appel, excuse my French, Senor Michael. I'm really happy to hear from you though, because before I do all this reading, you guys have the reading in front of you, so maybe my reading skills are not as good as yours, but it makes me really happy to see someone like Emily and Michael present their expertise, because I would say they are a protege of Paul and Drew at Full Belly Farm. All right, Three Springs Farm, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Emily Oakley and Michael Appel own and operate a Three Spring Farm. That's the name of their farm, a diversified, certified organic vegetable farm in northeastern Oklahoma. They cultivate over 3 dozen of different crops and more than 150 varieties on 3 acres. Oh my God, that probably looks beautiful. Their goal is to maintain a 2-person operation that demonstrates the economic viability of a small-scale farming. Their marketing strategies have evolved with time. Emily and Michael now they sell their produce to almost exclusively through a 250-member CSA program, now entering into their 19th season of farming. Their focus is on minimizing the external inputs and finding the holy grail of work, life, and balance. Bienvenidos, muchachos. Take it away, Emily, Michael.
Hello, I'm Mike Appel.
And I'm Emily Oakley.
And we together have Three Springs Farm in Oaks, Oklahoma. We're super excited to be involved with this conference. This was a major honor to be asked to speak. We've been big fans of EcoFarm for probably over 20 years now. So it's a great honor to be a part of it.
So we're going to kind of jump right in and give you guys an overview of our farm. And give you just a little bit of background. So we have 21 acres, but we only have about 2.5 in annuals or cash crops, and then about 2 in a cover crop and kind of rotational fallow. And we have about 1 acre in perennial trees, and the balance is just in wildlife habitat. We're a 2-person operation. It is our full-time job, and we don't have off-farm income. Our current marketing strategy has evolved with COVID, like so many people's, and we have a 300-member CSA that goes over a 21-week period, and we are starting our 19th season.
So this is a little brief history of kind of our evolution as farmers. We both studied farming in undergraduate, but more of like from a philosophical point of view, not really practical. It wasn't until we worked at Full Belly way back in 2001, 2002, where we really learned started to learn how to farm. We learned it was a great place to learn, so much going on there, and it really gave us a great foundation to start our own farm. In 2003, we moved back to Oklahoma, where Emily is from. Pretty naive. We thought we could find land in a few months, but quickly realized that we couldn't afford really good farmland, couldn't find something in our price range with that had water, good soil, not terribly far from town. So we ended up leasing 2 acres of land really pretty close to Tulsa for 3 years. And that was great because that really gave us a strong starting point. We were able to grow our customers without having like a mortgage or anything. So that was a very helpful part, although, it had its challenges. But in 2006, after looking at over 150 properties, 150, we finally found some land about an hour east of Tulsa. So it's kind of it's called the Ozark part of the state. It's a little more hilly. It's not kind of like the flat plains that people might imagine of Oklahoma. It's more woodland. It's an oak hickory forest. We're on a beautiful creek. So we really like this part of the state. So we're really excited to find this place. It was $105,000 back then for 20 acres, a house and a barn, but it all needed a ton of work. The house was pretty rough, same was the barn, and the land needed lots of help.
So we have definitely put that time and money into it over the years. So our goals are basically to be economically viable for 2 people and try to stay as small as we can while still making a living. Our environmental responsibility as organic farmers obviously covers a whole spectrum, but one of our primary focuses, besides the land that we put into wildlife habitat, is limiting the use of external inputs. And for us, that has especially evolved to include no CAFO products or confined animal feeding operation products, which really limits the use of animal manure, feather meal, bone meal, blood meal. But we'll get into that in a little bit, how we do achieve fertility without those inputs. And our goal is also to have a restful off season in the winter, which is key for farming for the long term and avoiding burnout. So over time, our production has, of course, changed, as all farms do. And even though we've gone through periods where we've grown maybe up to 6 acres, over time, our production has led to less acreage in cultivation and still increasing profitability, which is always the goal. Building our soil with cover crops, and that helps us get more production on less land because obviously we're getting better nutrition from the land that we have. Also just increasing systems efficiencies, most of which comes with just experience and mistakes and time. Then keeping things simple and staying focused on what's working with our farm, which can be a bit of a struggle sometimes because there's always so many opportunities in farming, and especially, just there's a demand for what we grow, but we've still tried to kind of narrow it to what we do best. So that's looking for profitable crop mixes. We drop crops that don't have a good return and demands a lot of labor, and removing marginally productive perennials like for us, peaches and blueberries that took a lot of time and money, but didn't give us a lot of profit.
So we're just going to go through a few slides of our fields just so you can get an idea of what our production looks like. We do grow on raised beds. This was something we learned at Full Belly of creating raised beds with a bed maker. This is our spring fields. I think this photo was taken sometime in May. Tend to get lots of rain in the spring, so the raised beds really help with keeping the water off the crops.
So these are just some more photos just to give you a sense of what it looks like for us out there. We're going to kind of just take you through them quickly because everybody knows what fields look like. We do use a variety of tractor-based implements for our field work. We make the raised beds with a bed maker. We cultivate with the tractor and blind cultivators in the back. We use row hippers, just a whole slew of kind of adapting that style of row-based agriculture from full belly in California to Oklahoma.
So yeah, that's a picture of our main tractor. We only have two, and that's the newer one. We have an older John Deere tractor. We do try to, as Emily said, try to do a lot with the tractor as a two-person farm to really minimize on labor. So all tillage, cultivation, all is tractor based, and we even have a mechanical transplanter for transplanting. We do also use the paper pot transplanting system, as well as doing some direct seeds with a Planet Junior. So this is a field of a picture of our summer field. So we really have two distinct seasons here for in our climate. We have a spring season with all the cool weather crops, and then it gets really, really hot starting in June. And so those crops tend to wane, and we move into our summer production, which is where we make the predominantly most of our money is during the summertime. Mainly tomatoes is our biggest crop.
So these are just some more photos of the field, and that's our daughter helping us, doing a little job planting with summer squash. More photos of the summer, and we do successions like I'm sure most other farmers do. Especially that's important for us just in terms of pest control strategies. So in this picture, you can kind of see where we have successions of summer squash and cucumbers coming up. And on the far right side, there is actually crop residue from the fall winter cover crop that's still covering the ground because some of that grows back in the spring and produces a really lush cover, which we then can use, to keep the cover or keep the soil covered until we're ready to till it.
So this is a picture of our tomatoes. We grow both hybrids and heirlooms, but about 50-50 of those. But these just have been such a great crop for us. People in Oklahoma just really love their tomatoes and buy quite a bit of them. And so we're able to sell about that much at every Saturday market when we have tomatoes.
And you can kind of see that on the right-hand side of the truck are the summer field crops, and then on the left-hand side is the summer cover crop where we'd had the spring crop. And that brings us into this next section, which is growing our fertility, which is sort of the holy grail. So we live in an area that has a lot of chicken houses and has had them for many, many years, tens of thousands of birds in a barn. And for our first couple of years, we really did rely on chicken litter. We had 6 pounds of nitrogen to the acre when we bought this place, and we needed to definitely amend it. And then cover crops take time to build that up. But we are also in a place where a new wave of CAFO chicken houses came in within the last 3-ish years. And when that happened, we had already stopped using chicken manure for philosophical reasons, but we kind of took it to the next level and got rid of feather meal, bone meal, blood meal, etc. And so we're starting our 7th season with no animal manure of any kind, and we are starting our 2nd season with no animal products of any kind. So we are using like a supplemental soybean, sometimes occasionally micronutrients or sea minerals or lime, but primarily looking to our cover crops.
Yeah, so over the years, we've really spent a lot of time thinking about and developing our cover crop system. We see them as providing several functions, definitely fertility, organic matter. We see it as growing our compost in place. We also see it as a smother crop. It really helps, especially controlling perennial grasses like Bermuda grass. We've really been able to eradicate it from our fields thanks to the cover crop. So we have 2 different cover crop programs. One is the fall winter and the other one is the summer. So in the fall here, we actually end our marketing season early in order to put our fields into cover crop. So that we usually try to get them in the 3rd week in September, depending on the weather. So since it is rain dependent, that might vary by a couple weeks. This past year was pretty dry September, and so we had to wait until the very end of the month in order to plant it. So we plant oats, vetch, daikon, mustard, and clover. The mustard we grow as almost as like a fumigant to help with click beetle larvae. The daikon is a really deep rooting crop, breaks up hardpan, and everything is pretty much winter kill except for the vetch, which we want to survive the winter and provide nitrogen for the next crops. Our summer cover crop, which is really important because it grows so much biomass, is sorghum, Sudan grass, sun hemp, sunflowers, cowpeas, safflowers, and soybeans. So we're trying to grow a lot of diversity in order to help with diversity in the biology of the soil. And this cover crop, as you'll see, it gets really tall.
And yeah, it gets tall in a very short amount of time. So as we said, we divide our field into 2 equal parts, one for the spring and one for the summer crops each year. Then we rotate those fields. And the cycle is we go from a spring cash crop to a summer cover crop to a winter cover crop, or a summer cash crop to a winter cover crop to a spring cash crop. So basically the spring fields are in a cover crop for about 9 months out of the year, and the summer cover crops the summer cash crops are in a cover crop about half of the year. So we'll just show you some photos. This is the one time of year when our fields are completely bare, and that's when we are putting in the entire farm in the fall winter cover crop, and we use this old grain drill. This is it getting established within a few weeks. So by getting it in early September, in an ideal world, sometimes mid to late December, it does allow us to get a pretty substantial growth rate. This is actually a picture of the vetch and the peas coming back in the spring as we're getting ready to till them in and make beds as we need them. This is a picture of the crop as it's starting to grow in the summer, the sorghum, Sudan grass, and other items. This is kind of an up close look at what that diversity looks like. And this is a picture of what it looks like when it's finally ready to get mowed down in the end of August, beginning of September, just depending upon the conditions each year.
One thing about this, that it is fairly difficult to terminate and to incorporate. So we've actually broken a brush hog trying to mow this stuff down. But got this new brush hog. We usually use a flail mower for our cover crops, but because of how tall this is, we've had to go to a brush hog for the first pass, and then we'll use a flail mower later. What is nice about this kind of system, though, is we mow it a little high, so we do get some regrowth, which is good because we get further root development.
So prior to COVID, most of our marketing came from the farmers market. I'd say about 60% came from the farmers market, about 30% from the CSA to 35%, and then a little bit in wholesaling. With COVID, we did adapt that. We still do some marketing. This is doing a delivery to a local foods cooperative during the summertime when we have, just a lot of volume, maybe a little bit more than we can find an outlet for through direct sales. But with COVID, we created a new system based on an app that allows our customers to order online. And we list the products that we have available that week. If we have any limits on them, we can set limits. Then starting at noon on Monday, they get their newsletter for the week. They can go onto the app and see what's available. They can select what they want and how much of it they want. Their totals get subtracted from the balance that they have already paid into. That order then closes noon on Thursday, which gives us time Thursday and Friday to harvest exactly what's been ordered and then deliver it to a parking lot in Tulsa. And this has been so successful that we have decided not to go back to the market because we're really picking what's already been sold, and it's just a lot less labor and stress. So we can get some lines. This is what this photo shows when we were in our peak of the delivery season, but we've tweaked and figured out how to make the experience, I think, more comfortable and less time consuming for customers.
So a few of our lifestyle choices that we've kind of mentioned earlier, but ending our market season early around Labor Day has been key for our longevity, being able to get that restful, so-called restful off season. I mean, we usually have projects to do, but it's definitely a different pace of not having to market produce at that time. Last few years, especially after having a child, we've taken very consistently taking Sundays off. Before we would work through Sundays, but now we don't. And we really try not to work terribly late and be able to have dinner together has been really important. So putting some more boundaries to our work, so it just doesn't it'll just keep taking from us. So
yeah, so the fact that we're a 2-person farm can be a little bit odd, especially given that it's not the typical system. But the reason that we've chosen this is that we, for one, don't live in an area with a lot of easy hiring options. We also like the freedom of not having to arrange our schedule around employees. So if it's raining in the morning, we don't have to hurry up and get out there and find work for employees. We can sleep in or take it slower. We would also have to get bigger to pay people a living wage. And we're not so great at managing people. We don't really enjoy that. And then why a 21-week growth season is it rests our souls and our soils. And we do want to farm for the long run, and we need a meaningful downtime. We know the toll that not having one can take. Also, we can really earn so much in the 7 weeks from July to mid-August that we really don't want to be spending our time during those summer months getting ready for a fall or a winter crop, because it would include sacrificing our summer profitability. So not everybody loves graphs, but I geek out on them, and we do keep track of our labor hours in the field. And what this graph shows is starting in 2004 to 2020, the blue line is our income steadily going up with time, and then the black line is our labor steadily going down. So, our goal is to at least stabilize our income and reduce labor as much as we can. And that's kind of what this is showing.
This is just an average of over the last few years of what our profit and loss statement has looked like in a very condensed view, just to give you an idea of kind of the numbers behind what we're doing. So yeah, about $100,000 in gross sales. And then the expenses, which we really have tried to minimize as much as possible in order to, not have to make as much. We try to not spend as much. So we do usually buy like one big capital thing or do a capital improvement each year, but generally, and as we get more and more, we don't have as many of those.
Yeah, so just quick, last couple of slides are just financial decisions, trying to avoid debt. And as Mike said, not over investing in the farm and keeping that money for savings. And so part of what we've tried to do is strategize for diversifying our income and planning for retirement. So how we use those profits basically comes down to living expenses, about $25,000 a year. We try to save around $45,000 a year. We've used that money to purchase 3 rental houses, which we learned from the Willies in California. And that is actually now providing us additional income, SEP or self-employed IRA plan, and general savings. We do sometimes make around $15,000 a year in capital improvements, or at least we historically have, but we are getting to a point where we don't really need to make these improvements anymore because we've kind of built ourselves up to the place where we need to be. We have the deer fence, we have the solar panels, we have the tractors we need. But of course, vehicles can die and you need to make new investments at some time. So there's always the ability to plan for that in the future. So thank you for listening to our presentation. And if there are any questions or people ever want to reach out to us, that's our email. Our 8-year-old daughter at the time took this picture of us in the field getting dirty, getting wet. And we are really sad not to get to see people in person, but we're really excited for the opportunity that this virtual event has created. So thank you.
All right. There you go. Are we there?
Yes, I hear you. Hi, Javier.
Oh, I see. It says, I don't know. I'm out on the field now, but I see myself in a little corner, not on the big screen. So, but I'm glad I'm alive. Oh, thank you guys. Such a beautiful farm and a very unique way of making a 3-acre farm workable, sustainable, and yes, unfortunately, not unfortunately, I think, Michael, you did the right thing moving to where your wife is from. Normally, our spouse dictates which way we want to go, but at least I see you guys have been able to access land and $105,000 for 20 acres. Oh my God. Unfortunately, I don't think we can buy here in California a tenth of an acre with that amount of money. I think a half acre with a little house at $600,000. Kind of crazy. Anyway, moving on, because we have to move on. We have our second successful farmer, Javier Ledesma. Javier Ledesma and his son Isaac own Ledesma Farms, Hollister, California. Javier and his son Isaac Ledesma grow more than 40 acres and 40, I guess, varieties of fruits and vegetables, in total about 90 acres across the Central Coast and some of the valley, in San Joaquin Valley, Gustine, Hollister, and Watsonville. Javier transitioned to organics in the mid 80s. He was one of the early farmers market salad greens sellers or growers, and has established a really good farm stand, which I witness that every Sunday in San Francisco. He has developed accounts in the wholesale industry. He has developed a good working environment. His workers, which he can serve as a good model for others. Javier is originally from Valle de Santiago, Guanajuato. If you guys don't know much of Mexico, Guanajuato is like another, I would say, Salinas Valley, San Joaquin Valley. You will see lots of American companies growing broccoli and a bunch of different vegetables that would eventually will make their way to America. So I guess before Javier came to America, he was already at a place where lots of food gets grown for our communities. Bienvenido, señor Javier. It's truly a pleasure to have you here and get to hear what you have to share with us. Adelante.
This begins in '84 when I was here working on the fields in Salinas. And after a while, I went back to my country, to Mexico. Then I came back to the same place. But when I came back, I saw there was a farming training program, and I had been in agriculture all my life. So I asked how I could take part in the program. I was informed that I had to come take some classes. We were there for 6 months attending classes. And there wasn't anything new for me. It was just widening my knowledge. After 6 months, I was given 2.5 acres. I was taking care of it after work, during the evenings, really early in the morning. And I was doing that work, taking care of that land. I really enjoyed it because it was something fully related to what I had done since I was a boy. So I learned how to grow different trees. I had tons of experience with grains, but not with orchards. I started having my first crops, like fresh zucchini and cherry tomato. And as the first season ended, I started thinking about diversifying a little bit. I started growing bok choy. That's where I experienced the first issues because I was moving in a field that was unknown to me. Even with my experience, it was something completely different. I needed some more equipment to be able to handle the heavier products. There was issues with water, and at the end I grew some Napa cabbage, and the experience was a little uncomfortable, but I overcame it because I was able to get in touch with someone that helped me harvest, and we overcame the problem. And then I grew on the areas that I was familiar with. I wanted to keep moving forward. I expanded a lot more, and on the same year, we had issues with a type of disease that was present in our crops. And I had another horrible experience. I kept working on this. On the second year, I ran out of money. I remember I had to collect plants from I picked up tomatoes, and that plant did really well. And when it grew, the price was very high. It was $28 for a box of cherry tomato, conventional cherry tomato. So this helped me to overcome the bump that I was in, and I was able to recover. So I was persistent. I was in that program for 3 years, and after the 3 years, then I was ready to look for another place, because after 3 years you had to look for your own farm. So I moved to Hollister, and I started to grow the same vegetables that I was familiar with. I kept growing cherry tomato, zucchinis, and I kept growing more and more of the same. But I quickly started facing new challenges. The weather was different, the soil was different, the market was the same, but we had to bring the products from further away. So I started facing new situations, but I remained persistent for a couple of years until 94. I decided to change to different crops. I started growing salads, baby lettuce and baby spinach, baby arugula. And I worked with from 94 to 2000. And then I had to grow a lot more. We had to have something during the winter to South California. The first 2 years, I went to Winter Heaven. Then I moved to El Centro and Imperial Valley. Over the summer, I will come here to this valley. I was moving about 50 acres. But in 2000, I realized that this was not the type of business that I could run because of the amount of money needed to update my processes and all the equipment. So that's when I made this choice to switch to specialty. Doing an analysis, I found out that that was the best for a small farmer. So I completely changed 20 acres with specialty crops where you need more labor. We worked that for about 10 years. The focus was wholesale, mostly. Then farmers market opened and I tried it a couple times and it didn't go well. I tried it a third time, and since I had a wider variety of specialty crops, then I was a little more successful. And since then, I've done farmers markets, but I've combined that with other types of markets. Some restaurants that buy direct from us, and that's how we keep moving forward. Every 5 years, I do a readjustment. I upgrade to what's required in actuality. And during that process, my children have grown. When I got started in '89, I didn't have any of my kids yet, and they grew up in the fields. And the oldest went to college, finished his degree, and worked a little bit in it. But then we start a small seed business, and he was the one that had the ability to move in that field. It was related to agriculture, and I could give him some advice, but when it came to business knowledge, he was the one that had the ability to do it. So we decided he will run that business, and so far he is fully in charge of that company, and it's independent, but we are related, and I still try to help him with information, with my knowledge, and it's working really well. The name of the company is Snow Seed, and it's mostly a great resource for small farmers because remembering the issues that we used to face when it came to the size of seeds and transplants, he can provide small portions of seeds to small farmers. And he has a program for transplants that also helps small farmers. And then my second son started growing, and he liked working here with me a lot better. At the beginning, he was working with me. Now I work for him, and he does most of the work. He helps me to keep everything organized, everything new that we are trying, and to keep what we were already growing. So he's also part of the business. Then we have my third son, and he went to school, went to college, and then after he's been helping us. He's still a big part of our business when it comes to logistics, transportation, and everything we need. When it comes to maintenance and how to make the business keep moving forward. So the whole family has been part of the business. My wife was very important since the beginning. She used to help me from carrying a hoe to transportation. We've all been important parts of our business. Her role is just as important as mine because we had difficult times and she was the one cheering me and saying, let's keep moving forward. Sometimes we had to restart, but we never stopped. I think that for me, the most important has been persistence. And thank God we're doing well. We're stable in our business. We keep implementing some changes depending on our needs. With the pandemic, we are facing many new challenges, but we keep going constantly. And it seems like we weren't as hurt as we thought we were at the beginning. Since we are a business linked to food and people, our clients, our wholesale and local and farmers market, it seems like they all like our work, our products, and we've been at it constantly, and it seems like people enjoy our products. It seems like they appreciate what we've done. Let it be the markets. I believe that what matters is, at least for me, this is part of my life. And even though it's a lot of hard work and it's hard to get started and it's even harder to keep going, there is something essential in it. If the farmer likes his job, it's a very necessary element. You need to like this. You need to be doing something that truly fulfills you because it takes tons of hours, tons of dedication. When it came to your question about organic, in 1990, there was an experiment done for the first time in Salinas at the Rural Development Center. Today it has a different name. And I was chosen to participate. And at the beginning, it seemed complicated and hard to grow without chemicals because since I was a young boy, we used to apply fertilizers and chemicals. So they were already being used in Mexico, and we used to apply them all the time when I was younger. Whatever was available and was appropriate for our crops. So in this project, seeing this, I was thinking, is this possible? So the University of Berkeley and the Chapingo University started a project that consisted of a few cherry tomatoes, and I helped them with their project to see how it worked. And after a while, when I saw the first harvest, I saw that it was possible. So I asked to be in charge of part of the project. I remember I took the worst area at the farm because I wanted to make sure that it will work in any type of soil. So I took the weakest plot, and after 2 years it turned out that we had to switch gears. When I went back to growing conventional, I quickly realized that the soil that I had chosen that was the worst was now the best. That's when I understood that organic growing builds up the soil, and if you apply chemicals, you make it dependent on chemicals. So I switched to organic, partly because there wasn't enough market. It wasn't until '94 when I fully became an organic grower, because we had the resources, primarily the buyers, and since then I've grown organic, and I think this is the best way and it's the healthiest. I used to have some health issues and I didn't realize that it was what I was eating, but I used to have constant rashes after applying chemicals. So after I switched to organic, my health improved, and I started to put two and two together. And the soil takes a while to respond, but you start creating beneficial bacteria that brings more oxygenation to the soil. And these are parts that are essential. You don't have them at the beginning, but as you work the soil organically, you bring life back to it. So this is my experience when it comes to organic. And now I worked on organic. When you ask me about how I market my products, we're very diversified, and that's one of the reasons why we have the least issues, because when it comes to wholesale, people know me very well because I used to work for some years with mixed salads. We used to go up to Canada, so I know a lot of people who keep asking for my products. I always keep my eyes forward to see what's needed more than locally and what's special. So I try to adjust so that product doesn't get wasted and make as much money as possible. There's some markets that are interested for local products, and they usually call me. We also have some farmers that sometimes are missing a product to fulfill their orders. We have something very important that came up through the pandemic, when we saw that there were many elders that couldn't make it to public spaces. So we started a program that was providing a list via email of what we had available, and they will order. A box was the minimum, and then they could add any extras that they needed. The minimum was based on a simple box, like it was about $25, and we will make their order. We will put it for them, and we started doing this almost for 2 years. Right now, we stopped because we're short on labor, but in the future, maybe we will restart, and this helped a lot of people because they didn't have to be exposed to public spaces, especially focusing on our elderly population. This helped us a lot because, and farmers market have also been an essential part of our business. And we keep always looking for a wider market so that we're not dependent on just one outlet, one type of market, because things change. And if we have more outlets, then that's helpful. The way to get in touch with us will be via email and via phone, ledesmafarms@gmail.com, or my phone is 831-202-5030. Those will be the easiest ways to get in touch with us.
Órale, Javi. What a journey. Gracias, Javier. I mean, Javier touched on so many things of what a journey of an immigrant is, with so many challenges but so many opportunities. Though there's still lots of opportunities out there for someone that is just beginning to enter into this community of producing organic food for our communities. So muchísimas gracias, Javier. I think we probably need to sit down one of these days and do a little farmer to farmer, maybe with subtitles, so we can get a little more deeper into your journey in America and how you're helping us feed our communities. It's so important, and how you transition from that conventional to organic farming, based on the need and your health, that you saw organic as a way of having a healthier life. Well, we're back, señores. It's such a pleasure again. I'm another part of JSM Organics again. Once like Javier, when you guys are come to the Central Coast, please don't hesitate to come and visit Javier or Javier Ledesma or Javier Zamora. Our house is always open for you guys, and it's a pleasure to see other farmers and people from the community come and experience the way we do things and how your food is grown. All right, muchísimas gracias una vez más, Javier. Okay, let's go with the third successful farmers that are presenting today. We have a whole different way of feeding our communities with Loren and Lisa Poncia, or I would say Poncia. Stemple Creek Ranch in Tomales, California. Loren and Lisa Poncia of Stemple Creek Farm have redefined small-scale family ranching. Vacas, cows. They started Stemple Creek Ranch in Marin County with a dream of raising quality grass finish beef and lamb. Like that. To work with, not against Mother Nature. The ranch had the first carbon farm plan in the US. I would say sequestration. And they're very proud of that. As part of the Marin County project, Loren is a fourth generation Marin County rancher, and both Loren and Lisa are graduates of Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, Chingona Universidad. I wish, maybe I'll go there one time, once I get a little older. San Luis Obispo. Loren dreamed of coming back to the rancho to pursue his passion in agriculture, and he and Lisa figure out a way to make this happen. Loren spends countless hours carefully studying genetics with the goal of raising grass-fed and finished beef that is tender, carne asada, well marbled, and tastes just as good, if not better than grain-finished meat. Lisa focuses on the finance operations. She manages the money. That's excelente. On markets, the end of the business. Stemple Creek Ranch sells its products to grocery stores, butcher shops, restaurants, and direct to consumers. Bienvenidos. Gracias.
Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to our presentation. I'm Loren Poncia, and this is my lovely bride, Lisa.
Hello.
And we're very, very, very honored to be here and to be able to share our story with everybody today. You know, one of the conversations is we're supposed to be talking about success, and we really, me and Lisa together, really feel like success is more of a journey than a destination. And a lot of times we don't even feel like we're being successful. We're just like keep going and going and going and going. But when you look back at our track record over the last 16 or so years, we've had a lot of really good wins and successes, and we're having a blast doing it. So we're going to share a bunch of that stuff with you guys today. And hopefully we get all of your questions answered. And if not, you can hit us up after, or maybe come to our farm tour that we're doing later in the spring, and or any other time, just reach out to us. So today we're going to talk about Stemple Creek Ranch and the brand and business that we've built. Let's see, I'm a fourth generation rancher. I actually grew up on the ranch that we manage now. And up until about my, I went around the end of high school, I went away to college kicking and screaming. I thought that, you know, why do I need to go to college? I could just be a full-time rancher and live happily ever after. I realized my parents said, you need to go to college. I went off to college to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where I met tons of awesome people. And
Including me.
Including Lisa, thankfully. And I really had this burning desire to come back to the ranch. But one of the reasons why I had this burning desire is I'm the fourth generation. So if you look at this slide, you can see I'm the little boy in the top left corner. And then Angelo is in the bottom right-hand corner. And the brief history of our ranch is Angelo immigrated from Garzano, Italy over 120 years ago with the sole point of producing food for the Bay Area. And so with that, there comes a lot of responsibility to keep the business going. But that's not what really drove me, is the history. It's just, I love the place and I want to really raise high quality, nutrient dense food. So this is my beautiful little family. A couple weeks ago, there's Lisa and Avery and Juliana. They're the fifth generation. We're hoping that we make a business that's exciting and fun, they'll want to come back and participate in. So that's that. And then this is me actually in one of my happy places. I haven't introduced Maisie yet. You probably see her in a lot of my pictures and photos or Instagram, or she's my little sidekick, goes everywhere with me, my hunting dog, yellow lab Maisie. And this is one of our pastures. So we really started this journey about 2005. I came home from, Lisa and I were double income, no kids, working in Sacramento. And every weekend I would work on the farm, on the ranch, and I really loved it. And when I was traveling around the country, you know, I couldn't stop thinking about the ranch. And just to take a quick step back, when I graduated Cal Poly, or right before I graduated Cal Poly, I thought I was going to be a full-time rancher, and I realized there wasn't economic opportunity for me at home. So I took a job in veterinary pharmaceuticals, and it's actually the exact bell-shaped curve opposite of what I'm doing right now. Is started in pharmaceuticals, and now I'm an organic regenerative rancher, in Marin County. But when I was traveling around, I couldn't stop thinking about the ranch and how to make it a real business. And so around my 30th birthday, living in Sacramento, double income, no kids, we had the conversation. I came home one weekend and said, hey, Lisa, we really need to go home and try and make this a real business. And I'm perfectly fine trying and failing, but if we don't try, I'm always going to wonder what if. And thankfully I married an amazing bride that said, okay, she was up for the challenge, and she said, okay. So that was about 17 years ago, right? So we moved home, but one of the really important things as part of our story is we met with my parents before we moved home, and we said, hey, Mom and Dad, this is what we want to do, but quite frankly, we don't want to do it with you. We want to buy all your cattle, lease all of your land, and do it on our own, because up until that point, we were basically subsistence farmers where we would make enough money to do it the next year. And that wasn't acceptable for us to be a sustainable business. We have to be a profitable business. So we wanted to run it our own way without legacy decisions. So one of the really cool things that we do is we raise super high quality grass finished beef and lamb. And the way that we do it is by using regenerative practices and making a lot of grass, super nutrient dense grass that's pulling CO2 from the atmosphere, storing it in the soil, building lots of soil, and making super fat cattle that taste delicious and look like they're grain finished, even though they're grass finished. We also raise sheep. We do around 500 lambs a year off of our property, and it's actually a pretty funny story, but the sheep were not my favorite thing to raise, and it's actually the most delicious thing that we raise and the most unique thing. And if Lisa wasn't poking me saying, hey, we need to do more lamb, I probably wouldn't even be doing any lamb, because I'm not really a lamb guy. But
I'm a big fan of diversification,
yeah.
as you'll hear more about a little bit later.
Yes, so go to the next slide. One thing that we try and do is mimic Mother Nature, and we have mobs of cattle. So we have back when we first took over the operation, we had 8 pastures, and there was cattle in every pasture year round. Now we have over 100 pastures. We lease over really probably 10,000 acres of land that our cattle are on at different times of the year. We try and rotate them and mimic Mother Nature by grazing the grass in front of them, stomping on what's below them, pooping on what's behind them, help regenerate the soil. And this is an example of mobs that we have. We use lots of different techniques to move the cattle efficiently. And really what we're trying to do is create diverse pastures that have lots of different species. So it's like a salad bar for the cattle. And we can get best cattle performance, but at the same time, we can live within our ethos of the environmental stewardship. So this photo, here's an example of these things called tumble wheels. And if you wanted to go on Instagram or Facebook or maybe even TikTok, you can see these tumble wheels go. It's pretty cool. Just another photo of the tumble wheels and an example of how we graze. The cattle are eating the grass in front of them, stomping what's below them, and leaving lots of residual behind so that we can build more soil. So we're using the 5 principles of soil health. I'm going to keep going through some of these. This is back to my beautiful cow. So we talk about diversity. Just in this one picture, there's a lot of grasses in this one picture, but we have orchard grass and ryegrass and some annuals that we don't like, ripgut gromes and prairie grass. So what we're doing is working. So it's pretty cool to see that happening. Here's a typical example of sheep this time of year. They're just gaining weight. We have a lot. We have about 500 sheep, and we have to have these guardian dogs in order to protect the sheep, or the coyotes will basically decimate us. So as part of our diverse grazing, we don't just graze cattle. We graze cattle, we graze sheep, and then we also graze pigs. And we don't have a farrowing operation. We try and focus on what we're good at, and farrowing is a whole nother enterprise. We have lots of enterprises, but this is a whole nother enterprise that I haven't taken on yet. So we buy piglets usually 40 to 60 pounds, keep them for around 6 months. They eat pasture, but they also eat grain, certified organic, non-GMO grain. The pigs are actually a big hit. Everybody loves a bacon cheeseburger. So, and
it fits in well.
It's actually one of those enterprises that I never, ever would have thought that we would be raising pigs, but it's a profitable enterprise and it's a stacked enterprise. And I think you're going to talk more about that in a bit. Yep. Okay. And part of those stacked enterprises we were talking about is we also have a partnership with a local apiary company called Towser, and they raise or they have honeybees here on our ranch, and then we actually procure the honey from them and market it as Stemple Creek Ranch honey because it comes from our property. Here's a typical day. That's actually a typical springtime day right around now. Actually, the ranch looks a lot like this, but this is last year. And me and Maisie are checking things out. And if you see, I have a side-by-side here. That's my only horse on the ranch so far. I have a 12-year-old and 13-year-old daughter that wants a real horse. So we're going to be doing that soon. But there's a spray rig on the back of this. And a lot of people are like, well, he's cheating. He's out there spraying his pastures. And we do spray our pastures. And we spray seawater, worm tea, and compost tea. And actually this last year we sprayed a fish hydrolysate on the pastures to help increase bricks, grow more high quality forage, but at the same time sequester more carbon. We can talk about a bit about that in this next slide. So what we really are as photosynthesis farmers, we're about 10 or 12 years ago, I really started focusing on the soil and how soil health was going to affect the quality of the beef. And since we started focusing on the soil, instead of just the grass and the forages, we've really focused on having soil cover, which is like money in the bank for us, having lots of diverse species. So we want lots more forbs, so things that have deep tap roots instead of just shallow tap roots, and perennial plants that can photosynthesize year round. So this is an example of middle of summer and chicory that we have planted here on our pasture, and it's photosynthesizing, actually actively growing even in the summer and the fall when all the annual grasses are dead or dying and not photosynthesizing. So we just want to keep using the sun to capture the solar rays, or pardon me, keep using our plants to capture the solar rays and pump liquid carbon into the soil to feed the soil. So one thing that I'm super proud of, and it's really a legacy project, I can't take all the credit for this, is out the kitchen window of my parents' house. And we used to look out that Stemple Creek. It's the motivation for our property. And this is what it looked like back in the 80s growing up. I'm a big outdoorsman, so I was motivated by making more habitat. Go to the next slide, please. And this is what it looks like now. So you talk about regenerative agriculture, and go to the next slide, please. You talk about regenerative agriculture, and you look at this, you go 1990, it looked like that. 2010, we actually paid attention, fenced off the creeks, put solar pumps in to pump water to where the cows can go in the uplands to graze correctly, in our opinion. And 2018, now we have 50 types of migratory birds that nest here. It's booming with wildlife and way less erosion and way cleaner water. So this is like very, very motivational for us. And this is really success because our business has grown. Our environmental footprint has gone down and our diversity has really gone up. So if you want to define me and success, or Stemple Creek as success, I look at this as like, all right, this is everything visually people can see, but I'm really stepping on the shoulders of my dad and my sister who started this project, 20 plus years ago. But since then we've fenced off over 5 miles of riparian zone and planted over 10,000 trees. So we talked a little bit about our carbon farm plans and what we're doing, but basically what we're trying to do on our operation is grow a maximum amount of forage, super high quality forage, let the cows graze it, or the sheep or the pigs graze it, and turn it into high quality protein that we can sell to consumers to help generate revenue. And the way to do that is to pay attention to the grass, not just to pay attention to the cattle. So if you can see in this photo, ranch on the left doesn't practice any holistic management or grazing. And they just have a big open field, and they have, 80 cows on 300 acres. And the ranch on the right, where the tall feed is and the cows are all laying down, that's my pastures. And we grow probably 3 to 4 times the amount of forage. And we definitely put on a lot more pounds of gain. So, and it feels good. And we're really excited about it. And you're seeing some of the pictures of the results of it. So our carbon farm plan is working, just paying attention to all of the soil and paying attention to what's going on with the environment is really, really helping us. And that is in my opinion, is really pushing towards our success. So I'm going to push some of the next slides and let Lisa talk about our business and what's happening with our business and what we do there.
So one thing that's important is that when Loren and I first started our own business, which was about 16-ish years ago, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do, but we knew that we wanted to have a business in agriculture, and we knew that we needed to figure out a way for the business to actually be profitable and to actually support our family so we could thrive as a family. And we slowly made changes. We worked on the infrastructure. We got organic certified. We transitioned to a grass-fed, grass-finished operation. All the beef and the sheep are grass-fed, grass-finished. And then at some point we said, okay, we don't want to be price takers. We want to figure out what we need to do so that we can set the price for the products that we're selling. And to us, that was creating a brand name and creating a direct relationship with consumers. Now, we are very fortunate that our home ranch is in Marin County, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. So we have, literally millions of people in our own backyard. And we wanted to try and capitalize on that. So we came up with the name Stemple Creek Ranch. We started using that name in 2009. We put up our first little baby website just as I was literally 40 weeks pregnant with our first daughter. We thought that would be a great time to start a new enterprise. And the first thing that we did is we started selling quarters, halves, and wholes of whole animals off of our website. And it was truly okay, if you build it, will they come? And we put up this little website and we started selling it that way. The grass-fed, grass-finished product, and people liked it, and we got a lot of really positive feedback. And ever since then, it's truly just been one little step at a time. For a couple years, we knocked on the door of our local Whole Foods stores. We eventually were able to sell to Whole Foods. We sold them whole loads of cattle, and that was great. And we felt like it was a huge win. But like the minute we were in the Whole Foods stores and we had that little taste of success, we realized it really was not a good long-term partnership for us, because we wanted to partner with locally owned companies that we felt like we could have a long-term relationship with. And so we started knocking on doors of locally owned grocery stores, and we eventually created those relationships. We around the same time, mom and pop whole animal butcher shops started popping up in California, and we created relationships with some of them, which really was amazing.
Those relationships really helped us get into a lot of the high-end Michelin star type restaurants like Quince and Chez Panisse and
Zuni
State
Cafe
Bird and Zuni Cafe.
All of that. But really what that did, so another turning point was we have some very robust, very amazing farmers markets here in Marin County. And the biggest farmers market, it's one of the biggest farmers markets in the country, came to us and said, hey, Stemple Creek, we would love to have you in the farmers market. And we, that is what really pushed us to start creating retail ready individual cut packages. That was a huge leap, because that was a whole piece of logistics and infrastructure that we were not doing before. But once we did that, Loren, we would work in our jobs Monday through Friday. We had 2 babies at home at this point, and then Loren would go work at the farmers market every Sunday. But it was great because we met so many people. We met a lot of chefs that would come to the farmers market to buy things for their restaurants, and it was an amazing building block for us. We then at some point started selling individual cuts off of our website. And we added that, and not necessarily a shining point in our business or in our marriage, but every Friday night, Loren and I would go to this little tiny warehouse that we'd rented where we had freezer and refrigeration storage, and we would pack all the boxes that we were going to ship on Monday morning. And it was truly just it was a lot. It was, every step has been an enormous amount of work and an enormous amount of learning and making mistakes and figuring out from our mistakes, but it's just been one step at a time. Yeah. This is a more recent photo of, a pallet of boxes that we ship out. Now we have a bigger shipping warehouse where we ship boxes a couple days a week. We ship to folks in all 50 states. So as we developed our retail line and our retail products, we've also, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fan of diversification. We've also diversified into perishable goods and into consumer goods. We have a beef jerky line. We have a beef stick line, which is really popular. We do things like hot dogs, and we have what we call our Garzano style salametti, which is great on a charcuterie platter. Never thought that I would be the owner of a big truck with a cow on the back of it, but we do a lot of our own deliveries to restaurants and grocery stores here in Northern California. Another way that we've diversified is that Loren and I actually purchased the ranch next door to his family's historical ranches. It was a huge leap of faith. It was a very scary, nail-biting decision that we made, but we slowly over the last 10 years or so have rehabilitated this property. And what we wanted was a place where we could open our doors and have an open door policy and do farm tours and do educational events. And we do that. I cannot even tell you how many tours and how many events that we've done at our ranch. And it is truly for us guerrilla marketing, where we feel like, okay, if people come and if they meet us and if they see what we're doing and if they taste our products, then they will believe in us and there will be trust in the relationship. And that has been a huge way that we have grown our business. And it also is diversification, where our event venue and we do corporate events, we do weddings. It is a true standalone profitable enterprise that has helped balance out the diversity of our agricultural business. And every person that comes to our property for an event, they maybe didn't even know about us. They maybe didn't even know that there's agriculture right here in Marin County, just over the Golden Gate Bridge. And once they come, then they know. And, I think the bottom line is that all of the growth that we've had and everything that we've done has just been one small step at a time. And there has been many mistakes along the way and many things that we tried that just didn't quite work out the way we were hoping. But what we have now is we have a profitable business. We have about 15 employees that we adore and that we feel so fortunate that we get to work with these people every day and that they're here to support us and we're here to support them. And we have all of these different enterprises that all support each other. And there's a reason, we try not to have an enterprise just because we certainly don't need more work just for the sake of having work. But they fit together and they make Stemple Creek work.
And then this is our happy place. Like, we love entertaining, showing people what we're doing, telling our story, and sharing with other producers. And we're really proud of the work we've done, and we're really excited about what the future holds. And I think there's just a massive amount of opportunity for agriculturalists in the next 20 plus years to actually help solve a lot of the problems that agriculture created in the last 200 years. So with that, thank you so much for having us. We're really honored to be here.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you to you all for sticking with us. Thank you to you all for sticking with us. Javier had to run to a NOSB meeting, so I'll be closing us out here. We are so grateful to all of our farmer speakers. We ran a little bit over, but I hope you agree that it was worth it. Again, I think starting right now, we have a chance to, have your coffee and chat with folks from CAF on online marketing options. And we also want to remind you to continue to engage on our community platform. That's how you got here, with that link. And finally, stay tuned for our farmer field days. We're going to have one at Javier's farm, and we're also having one up at Stemple Creek. So you can see all of this live and in color. All right, so we're going to close out and hope to see you at the coffee chat and then in our last two workshop sessions that'll be happening following that. All right, thank you, everyone.